The Suicide Squad was directed by James Gunn and stars Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, John Cena, and Viola Davis, among others, and is the sequel/soft reboot of the 2016 Suicide Squad, and follows a new team as they go to Corte Maltese to stop a coup from happening, while also chasing down and finding a intergalactic creature known as Starro the Conqueror. Guys, I was really looking forward to this film coming out ever since James Gunn was attached to the film. The trailers looked like a lot of fun, but also I felt like the movie was in safe hands. Now, I'm somebody that didn't necessarily hate the first Suicide Squad movie from 2016. Although I was rather disappointed with that, I still found some fun to be had in it, and not all of it was bad. I did like the character choices in it. I loved the actors, especially people like Will Smith and Margot Robbie, who is Harley Quinn, and she's just absolutely amazing. But that movie really went through a rough patch of reshoots and changing what the film was, and this one was just purely something that James Gunn could take his hands and just craft into something truly spectacular, and I honestly think this is his best film to date. I really enjoyed the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, and I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but this one, it just hit that itch with me. I loved the characters, I loved the action, I loved the story, I loved the comedy, and the extreme violence in this film, and it just made for a really entertaining package that quite possibly may be one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. James Gunn was really able to do pretty much whatever he wanted with this film. He was able to kill off any character that he really wanted, and with that R rating, he was able to get away with a lot of stuff in the comedy department, and particularly the violence department. This is a very violent and brutal film, but it's never too grotesque. It's just goofy enough that it really works, and it's so fun. I really like the camaraderie between the characters and their respective actors in this film. I think everybody really plays off of each other really well, and there are some really good performances in here, particularly from Margot Robbie, once again playing Harley Quinn, but also Idris Elba and the actress that plays Ratcatcher 2 are all fantastic, but there's a lot of people that really do shine in this, such as John Cena, as well as Sylvester Stallone as King Shark and Polka Dot Man, and all of this stuff really makes a really entertaining package. As I said, the action is also really well done and really well choreographed too. My favorite action scene, particularly having to deal with Harley Quinn escaping from a prison. The action there is really good. It's a bunch of wide shots. You can see what's happening, and it's just really, really entertaining. The comedy I also found really good. Now, I'm a big fan of James Gunn's comedy, but sometimes I will say that he does have a problem of undercutting some emotional moments with some comedy that doesn't exactly work for me. And he does that here too sometimes, but I really think it is a whole lot better and well handled in this film than it is in both the Guardians of the Galaxy films. It was so great being able to really delve into these characters and really love them. Being that they're villains and they're terrible people, they are extremely entertaining and flawed people, and some of them are doing it for other reasons than just, they're bad guys and they just got to do this, but, they're doing it for maybe their family, to prove something to themselves. Some of them maybe want to be a superhero, and it's really, really awesome. I loved pretty much every second of this movie. I was laughing, I was really enjoying it, and it really got me a few times. The opening action scene in particular really blew me away with what they were able to get away with so early in the film. And there were some really shocking moments throughout that first act that really had me bawling. I was laughing so hard. But I do want to mention too about some of the returning cast members. I talked about Harley Quinn, but also we have Joel Kinnaman back as Rick Flag, who is just really great in this film. I feel like he didn't have a whole lot to go off of in the first Suicide Squad movie, but he is really entertaining here, and he's got such a commanding presence, and he's just really awesome. I love him, and I love his camaraderie with the other cast members, particularly when he's butting heads with John Cena's character, Peacemaker. Also, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller is just as great as she was in that first movie. She's so entertaining and so vile and hateable, and you just love her. Every second she's on screen, she is just oozing with charisma and malice, and it just works so well. I think for me, the one thing that holds this movie back for me is I think the first act takes a little time to really settle into what this movie is. Sometimes the comedy is a little bit hit or miss. I've also found it kind of confusing in the beginning, and it took me a little bit of time to really get into the film. But, once the first 15 or so minutes flew by, I was having a blast for the rest of the time. The action was great, the comedy, the characters, and it was a really fun movie that we definitely need now in a summer that hasn't been too kind to moviegoers in terms of, just big, giant movies. There's been some disappointing things, but this one really takes the cake. It's so fun, and I cannot wait to see what else James Gunn plans on doing with the DCEU going forward, because it has been announced that he is going to return to DC after he works on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I'm just so excited. This was such a blast from beginning to end, and I highly recommend it. So anyway, guys, with all that said, I'm going to give The Suicide Squad an 8 out of 10. And that's a very high 8 out of 10, guys. This was almost a 9. It could have been a 9, but I did feel that I just wasn't that invested in that first act. But nonetheless, this is one of my favorite superhero movies pretty much ever. So anyway, guys, with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and stay positive.